Hello rock and metal fans, welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews, and today we're going to do another episode of ranking the album tracks. So we're on to the best vocalist, rock and metal vocalist of all time, Ronnie James Dio. So I've had a request to do the Master of the Moon album. So I was going to get round to Dio obviously in the ranking the album tracks, but this wasn't the first album I was thinking of. Probably Holy Diver, The Last in Line, but obviously someone's requested this, so I thought why not. So I actually found this really interesting to do because my background on Ronnie James Dio is, like I just said, he's the best vocalist of all time. But apart from that, I did leave Dio for a few years, admittedly. I probably feel really guilty. I actually feel really guilty about it now. But I loved him when he was with Rainbow, loved the Black Sabbath albums, all three of them, and the Heaven and Hell one I thought was great as well. When they called themselves Heaven and Hell, why they didn't call themselves Black Sabbath, I don't know. And also thought that Holy Diver, The Last in Line, and at the time as well, Sacred Heart were just some of the best albums I've ever heard, and that still goes for Holy Diver and The Last in Line. Sacred Heart not so much, but I still think it's a great album. And after that, when Vivian Campbell left, I thought at the time, I think when Dream Evil came out, I thought they'd lost a lot of their energy, and I didn't listen to them. I didn't listen to Dio for years. Might have heard the odd track, but I left him alone. Now, I must admit, I do feel a bit guilty, but I did listen to Dehumanizer from Black Sabbath. I thought that was a great album. So, Master of the Moon is one of 4 or 5 albums that I'm not really acquainted with that well, but I have heard them once or twice. So this was, like I said, more interesting because it wasn't like the other ranking the tracks that I did where I knew off by heart what the tracks were, and I didn't even have to listen to the album to do a track ranking. This, I had to listen to the whole album, front to back, so there wasn't no nostalgia involved, you know, thinking, oh, I should choose that track because that's the favourite track from everyone, you know, that's the most popular track. It was nothing like that. These were a total level playing field for me, which made the listen so interesting and me scoring the tracks so interesting and ranking them. So, a little bit of background on the album. Released September the 7th, 2004. This is the final album by Dio. 46 minutes and 7 seconds long. Produced by Ronnie James Dio. With the band at the time, Dio on vocals, obviously. Craig Goldie on the guitar. Jeff Pilson on bass. Simon Wright on the drums. And Scott Warren on the keyboards. Let's talk about the production quickly. So, I thought the production was pretty good. It was nice and bassy, like when I hear Dio albums, I like that sound, that bassy sound, like he had on the Sabbath albums, especially Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell, and even the Heaven and Hell release a little while ago. You know, the one with Black Sabbath, basically. I like those, that bassy sort of sound. He's got a real bassy sound on this. Probably not as bassy, but the bass is quite prominent, which is cool. I love it when I hear Dio's voice over a real bassy album. Sort of makes it more doomy, if you know what I mean. So production-wise, you can hear everything. No, nothing wrong with the production whatsoever. I thought it was good production. Let's talk about Scott Warren on keyboard. So I quite like the keyboards on this album. On some tracks they are more up front than others, but most of the time they add a lot to the songs, but they're not at the forefront, you know. And I sort of like that with Dio. I want to hear the guitars mainly, and the drums and the bass and Dio's voice. Keyboards, I don't mind it adding something to it, but I don't want it to be right up there at the forefront of all the music, although on some songs it actually adds quite well to it. You can hear it at the forefront a bit more. Drums and bass are brilliant, and Jeff Pilson obviously on the bass, man. He's a brilliant bass guitarist. Simon Wright on the drums does a really great job. You know, it's one of them, when you hear a Dio album, you want them to just keep that galloping rhythm or that basic rhythm, not be too flash. You know, even though Jeff Pilson is a real technical bass guitarist, you just want to hear him give that thump in a Dio album, you know what I mean? And he definitely does. And Simon Wright, like I said, on drums is great. Craig Goldie, let's talk about the guitaring on this album in general. So I think he's a good guitarist. I think he doesn't do anything too flash. But I think on some of the tracks on this album, and I think I remember it being when I first heard Dream Evil album as well, I'd like to hear him do more leads in between the rhythm guitar bits, you know, maybe like branching out a bit on, you know, doing some flashy bits within the verses or things like that. Do you know what I mean? But he's quite, most of it's just rhythm guitar, and then he bursts into a solo, goes back to the rhythm again. But it's still great guitar playing, very, very good technically, but keeps it quite simple, which I like. But sometimes you want to hear a little bit more lead in those verses, you know, as you used to in the first two albums of Dio. You know, Vivian Campbell used to break into some really great solo stuff in between the, you know, before the solos, in between the verses, over the pre-choruses and the choruses. But still a great job by Craig Goldie. I'm going to speak about Dio quickly. So he's 62 years old when they made this album, and man, he kept his voice till the end. I saw a Heaven and Hell concert, obviously the Black Sabbath one, when he went back, one of the last concerts he did, and his voice was so strong still. Absolutely unbelievable. 62 years old on this album. And then, of course, the Heaven and Hell one was a few years after that. And it was a brilliant vocal performance. But we're on to the Dio album now. So, overall, even though I left this album alone, which, like I said, I feel a bit guilty about, I think it's a great album. Let's get that off the bat straight away. I think that Dio, obviously, Ronnie James Dio himself, adds more to an album than any other vocalist. So he could, I'm not saying this is a bad album, it's a good album, but he could sing on a bad album and make it sound good. He's just an amazing vocalist. And, you know, he just pushes what other bands, you know, other singers couldn't come and sing these songs and they wouldn't be half as good. He just pushes the boundaries of his singing. It's unbelievable. So we're going to get onto the track ranking, what we're here for. So only 10 tracks to talk about. We're going to go from 10 to 1, 10 being the weakest track first of all. And remember, this was like I said, I've got no bias towards any, you know, songs that fans think are the best off this album. This is total clean slate, which is really cool, which I really enjoyed doing this. So my number 10, The Eyes. So this is a sort of slow to medium sort of pace song. Good vocals. Well, I don't even need to say that. The good vocals throughout the album. But the problem with this song, and why it's at number 10, is the song doesn't really go anywhere for me. It's got no real urgency, not enough energy for me. There's a good bit about halfway through, it changes up a bit, but then it goes back into the groove of the song, which I didn't particularly think was great. So I think that's why I just chose number 10. It just wasn't for me, this song. I thought it was okay, but, you know, nowhere near what other tracks are on here. Nowhere near as good as the other tracks on here. So number 10 is The Eyes. My number 9, Death by Love. Cool riff kicks this song off. Really cool riff. I love it. There's like a chugging guitars with Dio's voice going over it. The verses, I think, are the best thing about this song. I'm not too keen on the chorus, but it's still a good song. Death by Love. Like I said, there's good things about every one of these songs, but some of them are brilliant all the way through. Death by Love, the chorus not so good, but good, cool parts of the song. That's my number 9. My number 8, Living the Lie. So this is a real rocking track, sort of a faster track from Dio. And sometimes the faster tracks that Dio does, I'm not too keen on. But I think he's better at the doomy, sort of slower, sort of pace tracks. But this is quite good. But it did feel like it was missing something. I couldn't put my finger on it. But obviously, I'm not trying to compare it to the classic Dio albums when I was listening to this. I knew it wouldn't be like that. But, you know, when we're talking a good fast track, we're talking We Rock, Stand Up and Shout. Obviously, this ain't on the same level as that, but it was definitely missing something. Not sure what it was. That's my number 8, Living the Lie. My number 7 is the first song on the album, One More for the Road. Another fast sort of track. Good kicking it off with a fast track. I think that's the right thing to do. It's a sort of basic sort of rocking track. A cool solo on this one, quite a short solo, but obviously Dio's voice straight away. As soon as I started listening to it, I thought, wow, man, you know, I mean, it just doesn't get any better than this. One More for the Road is my number 7. My number 6, End of the World. So this is a cool track, and it's weird. It's like an AC/DC sort of riff at the beginning, or like throughout the song, and it's a bit strange how a sort of Dio could be singing across an AC/DC type riff and it work. It's just strange, but weirdly it really does work on this song. End of the World is a great song. So it's sort of a rock and roll sort of riff, but when Dio's classically trained voice come in, like I said, it shouldn't work, but it does. It's different, very different. That's my number 6. My number 5, In Dreams. So this is the last song on the album. The riff reminded me a bit of old Rainbow stuff when Dio was in the band, which was quite cool, especially at the beginning. This is a sort of slow to medium sort of pace, like a stomp in the verses, which I think is really cool. Keyboards, this is one of the songs where the keyboards play a bit more of a prominent role in the song, but not too much. It's there, you can hear it more in this one, but it never dominates the song, if you know what I mean. In Dreams is a really cool track. It's my number 5. My number 4, now we're getting down to some good tracks now. I've chose Shivers. So this is a really cool, medium paced, cool chugging riffs over Dio's voice, a bit like the one earlier on I was talking about. You can't get better, man, when hearing a good chugging guitar and Dio's voice is just amazing. The pre-chorus reminds me of Hungry for Heaven. It sort of had that build up, like I could imagine straight away. I thought of Hungry for Heaven. Weird. Love the groove in this song. A brilliant song, Shivers. I'm not sure what was a single off this album, but I think that it sounded like a single, if you know what I mean. A very good song. My number 3, I Am. So real cool bass line in this, so excellent. It's like a slow gallop on this song, like a bit like the song Heaven and Hell. So I said, it's sort of slow to medium paced again, really cool song. This is Dio at his best, singing his heart out. Really miss him, man. It's just really miss Ronnie James Dio. I love the chorus, and this is another really cool song. I Am is a brilliant song, one of the standouts obviously on the album, because it's my number 3. My number 2, The Man Who Would Be King. Very doomy, very slow. I like that. I just love that when Dio does that slow-me, doomy pace. His voice at the beginning, he does his nice little quiet part at the beginning. You know what I'm talking about when he does it a lot on songs like The Last in Line and Children of the Sea and things like that. Lovely. He sings over a piano at the beginning, which is quite cool, and you know when you hear that this is going to be an epic song, and it is. Keyboards are, again, in this one a little bit more prominent in this one, but not too much. Dio's voice is outstanding in this song, and I know I keep saying it is, but he's got a real aggression when the song gets going. His aggressiveness is absolutely mad. Some sort of odd time signatures in this song as well, which is quite cool. Some, you know, we're not talking Dream Theater progressive, but we're talking like little weird odd time signatures which add to the epicness, I suppose, of the song. And that leaves one track left, which is the title track, Master of the Moon. Very doomy again, so that's where I'm veering towards with this Dio. With Dio in general, I like the slower, doomier tracks that he does. This is sort of, like I said, sort of slow paced. It showcases his voice yet again, and it shows it's so intact. It's unbelievable, and he was proving it live as well. So it ain't just on record. Love the uplifting chorus. It's got such a catchy chorus. Straight away, I was like, bang! It hit me. I thought this is brilliant chorus. His voice soars on it. I like the use of the keys on this. It's a bit more in the background, but it really adds to the song. So a very deserved number 1, Master of the Moon, the title track. That's it. That's my ranking. So I hope you like it. tell me what I know it's not a real popular Dio album, this one. A lot of people do like it though. So even if you haven't heard it yet, give it a listen and do your ranking and put it in the comments below. If you know the album off by heart, just put your ranking below. Do you agree with my comments on the songs or my ranking? If you do, cool. If you don't, let me know. I love the comments below, and let me know some more suggestions. You know, any requests you want me to do, because every one of them so far, apart from my first album that I did, is a request. So you know that I'm doing the albums that people are asking for. Thanks for listening. Hope you liked the video. If you haven't subscribed, please press the red button, bottom right hand corner.